Senate Bill 12, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, basically provides that every elementary, middle, high school, and college shall have an AED available. It also provides for that each school shall have a plan in place and work with their local governments in implementing that plan. It also provides that it sets up a fund where we could receive private contributions to have these defibrillators at all schools. You know, obviously these defibrillators save lives. Just the other couple weeks ago in Gina, a young man lost his life. We have a personal story here today. A young man who was in high school in 20, Noah Martin, was playing basketball and basically lost his life and was brought back to life with this life-saving device. The cost of the bill is between 1.8 and 2.5. I've been working with both chairs, making sure that we have some appropriation for the bill. But more importantly, there's a lot of private industries out there that wish to put up money. There are about 17 states that have it make it mandatory that AEDs are present, and I want Louisiana to be the 18th state. To my right, Mr. Chairman, is Mr. Noah Martin, and he'll give you his story briefly, if that's okay.
Martin, you'll need to fill out a card when you get a chance, please, if you haven't already.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning. So about 3 years ago, I was playing basketball at Southern Lab, and I played the whole first half, and at halftime, I collapsed and I started seizing. I hit the floor, and they said I had no pulse. And my teammates rushed to get a doctor, and the doctor came in, and he did CPR, and they realized I didn't have a pulse at all, and I was just white and gray on the ground. But if it weren't for Coach Augustine, who raised funds himself to get an AED, then I would not be here today telling my story, because I was out for 15 minutes and they were just doing CPR, and without an AED, I wouldn't have lived. And that's my story.
Well, that is an amazing story, and thank God you're here and you
Yes, sir.
were able to survive that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Lastly, Dr. Kelley, who is, we named the act after the Jumpstart Your Heart. They've been doing excellent work across the state and some parts, or actually across the city and some parts of the state in helping schools, high schools, receive AEDs. Dr. Kelley.
Good morning. Thank you all for allowing me to speak. Yes, I'm Dr. Stephen Kelley. I'm an interventional cardiologist, and I represent Jumpstart Your Heart, which is a nonprofit organization. We started approximately 15 years ago after the death of a student athlete on the court. And through this organization, we've been able to provide free EKGs as well as screening echoes for student athletes. And in addition to that, we educate on the use of AEDs and bring the awareness that fact that student athletes can actually die sudden. And certainly with this bill, not only would it benefit the student athlete, but it could potentially benefit each and every one of us in this room, because by having an emergency action plan and AEDs present on campus at all times and train individuals to do good quality CPR, then it could save the life of any one of us in this room. So I would plead that if we could appropriate and move forward with this, we'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
And thank you, Dr. Kelley. We do have a couple questions. Let's see. Representative Carpenter for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome, Dr. Kelley.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
For those of you who don't know, he is really a renowned heart surgeon, and one that we really need to listen to. But I thank you, Senator Fields, for bringing this bill, because more and more evidence proves the importance of the defibrillators in the school systems. And I'm really concerned with even being at the high school level, because more and more young people are playing sports. And it is just absolutely essential that we do everything possible to save lives when necessary. And so I applaud you for bringing this bill. And I thank you, young man, for being able to share your story, because you're lucky to be here to do that. So, Mr. Chairman, at the appropriate time, I'd like to move this bill forward.
Thank you, Representative Carpenter. Definitely take note of that. We do have a couple more questions. Rep. Big for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Fields, Doctor, thank you for being here. I was interested in the training part of what happens if you have the machine there and somebody who isn't properly trained. I mean, nobody would be able to use the device in that case?
No, as part of the bill, every school that would receive an AED would also receive the training, so far as doing hands-on basic CPR, good quality hands-on CPR. And as part of that training, they're trained on how to use the AED. Now, to be honest with you, most of the AEDs now, really, if a layman just picked it up, the device actually talks you through the steps that you need to do, where to place the pads, how to perform CPR. It really eggs it on. So it's really, these devices have really changed a lot. And so, but as part of this bill, part of the training is going to be to help the schools set up the emergency action plan, as well as make sure that they are properly trained and have an expert on site.
That's kind of where I was going with this was, I don't want to see a liability in the society we live in today. Somebody goes and thinks they were trained properly, they hook it up wrong, it doesn't work out as well as it does for this young man. Is a school liable?
No, because I think there's a Good Samaritan law that's out. So as long as you're trying your best to do something to help somebody who's already out, then that should cover that. So.
Okay, that's why I was just concerned on that aspect. Somebody not knowing what they're doing, think they knew what they were doing, hook it up improperly, and somebody being at risk. But thank you.
Yes,
Sir.
sir.
I think it's a great bill. I think it's definitely needed, with sports. And I've been around it a long time myself, and you never know when that's going to happen. You never expect it, especially with younger athletes.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Big. Let's see. Representative Lyons for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I didn't go through that part of the bill. I know it talks about training. This is a doctor. It talks about the training aspect of it. How far does it go into past the first inception? I know once we get the device there, there's going to be training for, I'm assuming, the staff and everyone's there. How far does it go beyond that into the next year and into the staff as time goes on after the initial one? Senator?
Representative, it requires the Department of Health promulgate rules and regulations as relates to the maintenance of the AEDs and also the training of personnel so that you can have a trained person operating the AED. And that's going to be based on the LDH promulgating the rules and regulations.
Okay, that's the part that I want to really know. And I thank you for doing this and bringing this bill and putting an emphasis on the severity of it. Spending over 15 years in my own life in coaching and dealing with young adults, and these particular parts, you get the CPR training, and it's there, but the device itself is a lifesaver because of novice people. It does talk to you. Me, myself, I'm certified in operating an AED device. It talks to you. It walks you through the process. So it's easier to do. But I go back to here in this town over 10 years ago where we had a girls' basketball playoff game. A young student lost her life, and we were scheduled to play there 3 days after. So the effect it has on kids, not knowing exactly what can happen on the court, and knowing that there's sufficient, people there, other than than the medical staff to help. This is a lifesaver. It's a game changer in that regard. So the motion has already been made to move favorable with this as amended. And I again thank you for doing this. This is wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I predict in the future that every school across the nation will have these. It's going to be like fire extinguishers. I mean,
It should be.
They're that important. And I think every school across America will have AEDs in the future.
It should be as in the mall, as in all places where we have public facilities at. They should be there. And this is a great step here. Thank you very much. Thank you again, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative Lyons. We do have a couple more questions, but before we do, there is an amendment, Senator Fields. If you don't mind, we'll take that up. It's basically, well, I'll let Staff Attorney Ms. Becky read that in, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, this is Amendment Set 3660. You should have a copy of it. It is available online. We are adding the subject to appropriation language that we have been using this session. And then also Amendment number 1, we are changing the effective date to the first school year that starts at least 12 months after the effective date of this act or the appropriation.
Okay. Do you have any questions?
No, I had assumed that we put subject to appropriation in the Senate Finance Committee and the effective date 1 day from the implementation, but I have no problems with the amendment.
Okay, good deal. Members, are there any objections? I'll offer that these amendments. Is there any objection to the adoption of those amendments? Hearing or seeing none, the amendments are adopted. Back on the bill, Representative McFarland for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Fields, did I understand you correctly in your opening statement that there is additionally with this fund that private donations could be contributed? How are you setting that up separately from the Treasury?
No, it's not going to be separate from the Treasury. It's going to be a fund that one can contribute to the state fund.
Okay.
For AEDs. For example, the NFL, they have made it a big push nationally to put AEDs in all schools, and they have a fund where they, give to each state. And this is a way to receive those funds instead of going to individual schools that go to the state as a whole, and the state will make the determination once an application is made what schools receive the AEDs.
So often we think of sports as being middle school and high school and higher ed. Did you include our elementary students as well?
Yes, sir, we did. And you find there's a growing trend among states to do all, from elementary to college. And most people zero in on AEDs for athletes. Mm-hmm. But the truth of the matter is it could be for anybody. It could be for a teacher. It could be for a person visiting the school. And so I wanted to be consistent from K all the way to college. And that's why we included elementary schools in the bill.
Okay. I'm disappointed my colleague, Representative Marcel, isn't here today because I thought Representative Bacala was going to use one on her in the ante room a couple of years ago, but he did CPR instead.
Yeah,
Thank you, Chairman.
I recall that.
Yeah, thank you, Representative McFarland. Representative Miller for a question.
Just a quick statement and question to the doctor. I know you mentioned that a lot of these machines now pretty much they explain to you every step by step. I think I've also heard of instances where obviously you always dial 911. I think that 911 operator may be trained to walk through the steps as well. And I see EMS is shaking their head. I think sometimes they also, if they have to, could connect you to the EMS person who are coming, and they also walk you through the steps while they're en route. So I know our members had a lot of questions about training. There are other steps as well, safeguards that'll help any individual who have this device and is treating someone to clearly understand how to operate it.
Yes, sir, you're correct. I think that most important, like time is muscle. Okay, and the quicker we get the patient revived and get their pulse back, the less likely they'll have any long-term effects, especially neurological effects. And so, but yeah, these devices have really changed a lot, and there's a lot of safety features, and even with the requirement now for young students to graduate high school, having to be trained in hands-on CPR, that's even more people that we'll have in the community that will be able to operate these
And the
devices.
key is just to have the device.
Have
We
the
have the
device,
device. At worst, someone can be on the phone with 911 and they can be walking them through the steps of how to use it.
Correct.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Miller. If there are no additional questions, Representative Carpenter has made a motion to report Senate Bill 12 as amended. Is there any objection to that motion? Hearing or seeing none, Senate Bill 12 will be reported as amended. And thank you, Senator. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate
Thank you.
it. And good luck.
Appreciate it.
Members.
Thank you.